All right, welcome back to the Quest for Success podcast, and thanks so much for tuning in once again. Jam, we made it, episode 50.
Yes, that's half a century.
Half
Wow.
a century, we've got to raise the bat. It's been an incredible journey.
This is it's a hobby project.
Yeah.
Just to give you a background, if people don't know how the Quest for Success podcast started, Dylan was away in US at Stanford, did a course there, and then when he came back, he thought he's gonna take over the world, with his amazing idea. And as you know, things not gonna go that easy when you're starting up. And so he was a little bit down in a way, and we were talking about what's the plan for the long weekend, Easter long weekend. And we thought, Dylan came and said, "Hey, Daddy, why don't we do a podcast?" That's both of us. We were talking about that while before as well. So that's how we started the podcast. And then we asked the question, so what should we talk about, right? And at that time, we were all talking about what's the meaning of success, right? So that's when we did a bit of a whiteboard session and came up with the quest for success is the topic that we're going to talk. So initially, we thought let's talk to each other and talk about our own ideas, inspire ourselves, and share some experience, Dylan's experience at Stanford, and my experience at Harvard, and then that's how initially started. And we thought, hey, why not? I mean, the feedback that we got is amazing, and so we thought, why don't we extend this to outside of us and going to talk to few people that we inspired us and bring them onto our podcast, and maybe we might get one or two things from them. But here we are after 50 episode, man.
Yeah, it's been an unreal journey, and I suppose it was originally just us, and we realized success means something different to everyone.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's been an incredible journey to speak to close to 50 people in the last 50 episodes and really understand what success means to different people, and also the factors that contribute to success. And I think that's one of the key things that we want to dive into today is, we've spoken to so many people, a lot of whom are incredibly successful in their own rights.
Yep.
And we were starting to build a bit of a data set, right?
Yep.
This is research for us.
Absolutely.
So we've got a good insight into a little sample population on what success means, and also the ingredients that build a successful life.
Yeah. I mean, it's magical, right? So we never thought when we are talking to people, initially, very first episode, we didn't even have questions, or we haven't even done any research. We just sat down with people. Let's go as a conversation. I mean, we still continue to do that, but we are a little bit more prepared than before because, the variety of people that came across is amazing. And the lessons that we learn from every episode is unbelievable. It's just like, every episode is like reading a book.
Yeah.
Because we are listening to someone's story, how they build their life, and the purpose of their life, and then the key thing, what we also kind of create a competitive advantage with so many other podcasts. It's the summary that Dylan's put together, like at the end. I know some guests actually wanted to come to our podcast just to get that summary. So that's brilliant, Dylan. I mean, that's something that, how did you come about?
Well, it came about from our pursuit, right? Our goal of this is to identify the core traits that build a successful life.
Yeah.
And so that was just something, I don't know, for people who are watching, you'll see me throughout the episodes jotting down in this little notebook. And this has got all of our episodes.
That's going to go into our museum.
It's going to go into the museum. But I was just listening to And honestly, it started out as just for me. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to jot down
Yeah.
what were the core traits that built this person's successful life. But then obviously it's for our listeners as well. It's sharing that value that we're
Yeah.
trying to create here.
But it's magical, right? Because you're on the go, you're writing, jotting down some of the things while we're asking the questions and while we're listening, and you summarize it. It's amazing. Like, and I guess that's also help you to develop yourself, right? Your communication as well, like, and presenting it back to 50 guests.
Oh, 100%. And you guys who have watched from the very beginning, I hope you've noticed that not only have our guests gotten, better in quality, but our production values gotten better and also our communication's gotten better. Because I think this is not only are we just doing this to publish episodes, but it's also a great thing for great bonding and also great to grow ourselves. And I think one of our guests, Flavio, said it perfectly. Even if no one listens to your episodes, it's still great that you're going out and kind of recording people's
Yeah.
journey.
One of our fellow podcaster, Casey Bo,
Yeah.
he mentioned this as well, because he's also doing an amazing podcast called Case Studies. And he said he doesn't care whether anyone actually follow or listen to those podcasts, because every time when you do a podcast, you build a relationship with that guest, as well as the learning is magical, right? So it's an opportunity for you to learn. So regardless whether you have million followers or how many people listen, it doesn't really matters. And we believe that, right? Initially, we thought our purpose of having this podcast is whatever we learn, we can actually share with our audience, whoever wants to listen to this, because it's also a great way, rather than someone spending a whole week or two reading a book, and it's a fast way to, listen to someone's a story and learn from it, and your own time, right? Like, while you're driving, or when you have some free time. So we thought it's a purpose, as a individual purpose, our own purpose. It's all about how can we share this positive learnings.
We're learning, but we want to share it as well.
Yeah.
And so, Jam, I think we should get stuck in to what
Sure.
what we're here for today. Episode 50, we want to reflect on
Absolutely.
the journey that we've had so far. Yes, there's so much more to come, and this is just the beginning. But we thought we'd sit down and go through some of the key traits that
Yeah.
build a successful life.
Yeah. But before that, Dylan, let's talk about some of the, hearing all these stories over last 50 episode, has your definition of success changed?
It's funny you ask that, because I feel like with the guests who, we've had on millionaires, billionaires on the show, and
Yeah.
I had a preconceived idea that their definition of success would largely be what the traditional definition of success is, around wealth, material assets, growing companies, scaling companies. But then when you sit down and have a conversation like we do, you realize it's not that.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, it definitely has changed. It's made me realize, that I shouldn't even be comparing myself to people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the big takeaways for me is, and one of the traits which I'm going to go through, which I didn't even expect to be on the list, was this like ability to introspect and think really deeply about who you are and what you want. And that's still something which I'm terrible at. I would say that's one of my weaknesses. So I think having that ability to go back and go deep into what you want is one of the really crucial things that a lot of these people have built their definition of success about. But I think when I think about it, it comes a lot down to, I like some of our guests broke it down into pillars. And I think that's a really important and nice way to frame it as well. I'm reading this book that you're about to start reading, Five Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom, and it's the same as pretty much the 5 buckets that Stephen Bartlett talks about as well. And I think categorizing your kind of life into those buckets makes it a lot easier and makes you realize that there's not just like one thing in life to focus on. I think so. To summarize that I think it's about having a very well balanced life. I think is what I realized success is, and balance, but also happiness. Because a lot of the things that we're going to speak about and our guests have spoken about, ultimately they're in service of either giving yourself or other people around you happiness. Whether it's impact, whether it's authenticity, any of the traits we're going to go through, they're all in service of trying to make yourself or others around you happy.
But also success is not about a destination, right? It's a moving thing. It's a journey, and as you said, sometimes all these buckets, it's actually keep changing as well, right? So you can't say, okay, this is how much financially I need to be have to make me success, because as we know, sometimes we put a target and we achieve that. Then what do? Are you gonna end saying, okay, I'm done? No, you continue to grow, right? And same with everything else, right? So whether it's your family, some of the things that success is all about, what we heard over the past year. Actually, we also, like, this is actually a celebration of 1 year of our podcast as well. It's not just financially, it's all about the physical and mental well-being as well, and then the family, your relationships, and all that. It's a balance approach, right? And again, there's no one goal that you would achieve. It's a moving target, and end of the day is all about happiness, right?
And I think it's also important to acknowledge that there's no right answer. I think is also what
Absolutely
I've figured out. There is no one answer to success, and no one is right or wrong. It's a very internal thing.
But saying that, like, we are still in the quest for success, right? So we are still looking for it. So I don't think we found it, but we want to continue to explore this journey,
and maybe we never will, but it's
maybe
all
not,
part of the question.
Right? So as you said, it's a great start. We spent a year on this lounge and talking to so many people, and not just sitting on this lounge. We went international. We went and talked to some people in US, Sri Lanka, and around, like, some states in Queensland, and majority we managed to got online because of the distance, etc. But we want to continue to grow this, and we need to continue to have this conversation and explore, right?
100%. So I think let's dive into some of the key takeaways, and jump in if you feel like I've missed any. But I think the first one, which we heard time and time again, was continuous learning.
Absolutely.
And I think that ties in a lot with personal growth. Right? And having curiosity. Always trying to learn as much as you can. And importantly, not just from the traditional sources either. I think that's one thing that stood out to me was a lot of these people could be millionaires running these huge companies, but they still find time to go and learn from the people on the floor. Or they keep enough of an open mind that they learn from people and experiences that just happen around them. And I think that's one of the...
absolutely. One thing to mention, majority of the guests on this show, actually, many of my classmates from Harvard Business School. So I met them during my course at Harvard, OPM. So it's a 3-year course, and these guys are amazing. I wouldn't be able to bring these kind of guests unless thankfully to this course that I attended. They're very, very successful people on their own right, but the hunger for these guys, we experience that in our podcast as well. For continuous learning is magical, because everyone knew there's no end to learning, right? So there's every opportunity, whether it's a positive or negative, it's a learning opportunity. So I mean, I can't even I mean, we can mention few names, but I can't mention anyone that not in that
Didn't.
category,
Yeah.
right? Because all the guests that we talk to, they're they're hungry on learning. You know,
Yeah.
do you have any specific names that you can mention?
Heaps. I mean, the ones that come to mind, Casey Bohr, who
Yeah.
you already mentioned. He's
Yeah.
always going out there, reading up on things, listening, and trying to learn a lot. Florian is a great example. He invests a lot into going to all these different courses. Tony Robbins, Harvard, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Always investing in these different types of learning. And we had Max Chowry, Gretel Colleen, like
Yeah.
all of these incredible people are trying to keep an open mind and learn from experiences and people around them. And I think that's been a critical part to their
Yeah,
success.
I think that's quite necessity for any successful people, is just to have that mindset. You're a learner, right? You're there to learn, you know, everything. So I think that's probably the one of the key things we learn.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it's because it stops you from stagnating? Because when you're always learning, you're always like super active, you're going out and trying new things, learning new things, and it stops you from kind of just like getting comfortable and staying where you are.
I think it's more than that. You know, it just create the real positive energy, right? When you're learning, when you talk to someone, right? So you could do in two ways, right? When you're talking to someone, you could either judge the person, the when you're talking and just saying, "Oh yeah, okay, you know, I can do, you know, this way in a different way," or you can open up and really get that input into you, right? So this is where the success and failure kind of define, right? So majority of successful people are that open-minded, right? They open up, they lid come out, right? And rather than judging people, they're more you know, wanted
Willing to
to
learn.
open up and learn, right?
Yeah.
So not necessarily take everything and take into actions, but really understand, you know. So this is something that I learned associating with amazing successful people. You know, they're always curious, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to know, even they're 100 times bigger than you. They ask the question, so tell me about you, right? I mean, it's such a beautiful thing, this curiosity, right? Because that will open up so many opportunities, so many doors, and hunger, you know,
Yeah.
like yeah.
And I suppose as an action on that,
Yeah.
if someone's listening and they want to embrace this kind of curiosity, what do you think is an action for them to take?
I think it's a mental a way of looking at, right? Like, you know, so I mean, it's being open, right? Being open and open to other people, you know, like
I think it's asking questions too.
100%, like, you know. So you won't see when someone communicating, unless you ask more questions, you might not get everything. I mean, this is what I learned at Harvard, right? Even the professors, right? You ask one question, so many people put their hand up and say a few things, and they continue to ask more questions, because more you ask, you start thinking, right?
Yeah.
There's more will come out of you, right? So 100% right? So if you're shy person, and if you don't say continuous learning, you know, it's a key part of your journey, like, you know, it's such a important thing. If you're thinking of success, to have that mindset, take the every single opportunity as a learning experience, whether it's a positive or negative, right?
Yeah.
And failure is a great way to learn things, right? And actually failures are the best learning things, right? So when you fail, you want to make sure that you learn from that failure. Yeah, so yeah,
Ask questions,
ask questions.
read books, have an open mind. That's the
Open
takeaway.
mind is the main thing. Yeah.
All right. So the second one that I've got written down is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it's another one which, if you look back through my notebook, would be there most episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's really important, especially in today's day and age,
Yeah.
where we're surrounded by social media and people trying to portray this like best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And people are trying to replicate that and wearing masks, hiding behind masks, trying to be someone that they're not.
Yeah.
I think the more successful people now are the ones who are authentic, vulnerable, and show up as their real self.
Yeah. Yeah. True. So how do you like define the authenticity, Dylan? You know what?
I think it's just that. It's you don't care about what other people or society
Think
expects you to be.
of you. Okay.
You show up as your true self.
Yeah.
So you're not worried about, I need to say this thing because
Yeah.
people will be expecting, or that's the right thing for me to say.
Yeah.
You say what you believe.
Yeah.
I think that's one example of
Yeah.
being authentic.
But again, when you said you said what you believe, it needs to be positive as well, right? So yes, you can be authentic and you can be nasty as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean that could be that's your authenticity. But
Yeah.
again, what we learn throughout this journey, talking to people, more you are authentic, people believe in you, right? Like, we talked about that trust triangle, right?
Yeah.
Authenticity is the very important anchor that you could have to earn the trust, because end of the day, whether it's a relationship or it's a business partnership, whatever, if you don't earn the trust, if you don't maintain that trust with the other people, you won't be able to continue to succeed in whatever you do, right?
Yeah.
So
But I think there's a counter to that.
yeah.
I think especially maybe it's more for younger people, but if you're trying to associate with a group of people and you might just be trying to say the right things to make them like you, even though you believe something totally different.
Yeah.
And so I think it kind of goes back to the idea of just be yourself. Like say what, if someone doesn't like it, then maybe it means that you're not supposed to be around them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, need to, I mean, you're right in a way, right? Like, so authenticity is about, am I talking to the real Dylan, right? So you could pretend that you're the nicest guy, but you can be not that nice, right? So authenticity is about people can connect to someone, right? So but saying that, I mean, you don't have to pretend, right? But again, you need to be positive, right? I mean, the people that we talked, they're authentic, but then again, maybe positively authentic. You know what I mean? So none of the people that we talked, we can say they're negative, right? Like they're very, very, very positive of and that's their authenticity, right? So maybe in another way authentic but positively. You know what I mean? Like, so that's important.
A great example, Big Sam Young, right? He is a super out there guy, a lovely guy. And I remember him saying, when he bought like this really nice yellow Porsche and people kept telling him, oh, don't post that. You seem super cocky.
Yeah.
He said, no, like I'm going to post it because I know how hard I've worked for me to get there. Like this is for me. I don't care what other people
100%
like really think. This is I'm doing it for me. So I think he's a great example.
But some people may not agree to that. He didn't care, right? So that's a real true authenticity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we've had other people like one of our recent episodes, Gennady,
Gennady,
like
yeah,
such a character, right? He fully portrays himself as exactly who he is. Uju is the same. Like they're not ashamed of their journey, their story.
yeah.
They embrace it and they take it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing, right? So sometimes, when we're talking to people, what we realize, these people are not really worried about how they started, where they come from. I mean, amazing stories, right? Like Gennadi's story is came as a refugee, Russian refugee to US, right? And he just opened up and talked about it, and so that's real authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and maybe that's like to tie in with that is like vulnerability as well. As you said, yeah, some of these guests we were quite close with, and so it was easy for them to open up. I mean, Ryan Taylor and
oh yeah,
Duncan Lay, like both of these guys were people who we thought we knew pretty
yeah,
well,
yeah,
but then in conversations with them, they opened up, and we learnt so much more about them. And I think that's another like skill, right? In being authentic, you connect at a deeper level with people.
yeah. And Duncan Lay's story really touches me, right? Because and when we asked that question, you had any mentors, right? Remember? And he said, well, he didn't have anyone to talk to, so he didn't have anyone to look up to. His mentors or people that he looked up to were the characters of books. That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. And I mean, that's that's after that conversation, I think we we're both like, wow, we're doing the right thing. Giving people a space to be open and vulnerable and tell their story.
Yeah,
And
and also that realize, everyone had different journeys, and how blessed we are to, like our journey. Like, sometimes we comparing, oh shit, we had a tough life, right? But we realize, man, some people had a tougher life than you, right?
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think that maybe ties us in beautifully to the next one, which is humility and gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
Duncan, a great example of that. He's
Yeah.
incredibly established author, and just his humility when he spoke,
Yeah.
not being boastful, and it goes across a lot of the people that we've spoken to, is as much as you've achieved along your journey, is realizing that you should be doing that for you.
Yeah.
And so there's no need to flash it like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And just being humble, and more than maybe being humble, being grateful for the support and the people who have helped
Yeah.
you along the journey to get to where you are today.
100%. So talking about gratitude and it's my father, right? So I had the opportunity to talk to Nimal when I was in Sri Lanka, and I share that story with Dylan in one of our episodes, early episodes. Nimal, so he was an orphan, right? And his story is amazing. And if you had a chance, listen to our conversation about his story, because my dad can't speak English, so I actually record a session with him and then kind of explain that to Dylan, and we recorded as one of our podcasts. Podcast number 4, I believe, or something like that,
Yeah, one of
four,
the early
five,
ones.
and so what the takeaways? I mean, what he told me, it's all about he was an orphan. He lost his mom when he was 3, his dad very young age, and so he didn't have anywhere to live. He was living wherever it's wherever the food is, like someone couple of days looked after him, and then he just went from house to house, a long story, and then end up one of his uncles took him to Colombo to kind of help in the housework, do the housework, and he start learning and went to school there, and then that didn't. I think that's the
Yeah.
time his father passed away, so he came back and he didn't have any choice then his uncle took him into a Buddhist temple and become like a kind of a donate to the temple. So he became a monk for 2 years. I didn't even know that story until we had that conversation. So this is a wonderful thing that
Yeah.
a part of this quest for success, right?
And then, he went on to build, a great life for his
100%.
family or our family.
Yeah. And
And the like important takeaway from that story is now his focus is always about giving back.
giving back. And one thing that he said: never forget who helped you to come whatever your journey, right?
Yeah.
Always remember that and help them. Don't expect anything back,
Yeah.
right? Help them without any expectation. So amazing advice, and I think I really believe that what my dad told me. So yeah.
And I think humility is all about, again, I'm going to say it, we've spoken to some
Amazing.
incredible people, but they never kind of put themselves above other people.
Yeah.
You can accept, yes, I've done some great things, but there are so many other people out there who are, or everyone has their own value. Maybe that's what I should say. I've done something great, but other people out there are doing
Amazingly great,
yeah,
greater
exactly.
things. Yeah.
And yeah, I think Uncle Harshana,
Yeah.
a great example. He's done so much training. He's a
It changed the whole medical, like, I mean, in Queensland, rural medicine, right? Like people didn't have the specialist practice, so
yeah,
he just created that, and he created a huge positive impact to that region, right?
yeah,
So things like that. That's Dr. Harshana Gange
yeah.
is my brother-in-law, Dylan's uncle. That was one of our episodes that we did, and again, even he was my brother-in-law. I knew him for last 25 plus years. The lessons that we learn having that chat is unbelievable. Yeah.
So the next one that I've got is adaptability and resilience,
Huh?
and I think they're, to kind of summarize why I think that's important is things change very quickly. It's very easy to stagnate and not necessarily see new opportunities. But the people who are open to those new opportunities and take them and adapt to new situations, they always turn those challenges into opportunities. And I think that helps them respond to those new circumstances and make the best of being in kind of uncharted territory.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are great innovators that we talk to, people like Sheetal, right? And he continue to looking at opportunities and exploring and then Krishan Digala, for example, also looking at opportunities to create a positive impact. And yeah, so we had amazing conversations in that
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
And even like on the resilience front, I think of people like Dinesh,
Oh my God. Yeah.
people like Michael Wakeman, people who have suffered a
Yeah.
lot in their life,
Yeah.
but still manage to get up, have a smile on their face, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, Dr. Dinesh Palipana's episode is. I mean, I don't want to say any favorites because every episode is it's amazing. We learn heaps, but Dinesh is a very special episode. Um, the this guy when he was age of 25, he lost everything. Right, he had an accident, and he's a quadriplegic now. Like he but he didn't give up, right? So he became a doctor, and now he's working in the emergency department at Gold Coast Hospital. And the story, like we asked the question, I don't know, you remember, um, how do you feel like losing everything, right? So the answer, very high level, he felt like losing everything, he gained everything, right? Because he became like a different person altogether, right? I mean, he's a Queensland Australian of the Year, and what he is achieving, what he like, the amount of people inspired every day is unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't have that resilience, right, never give up attitude, and you won't be able to do that. And we seen over and over when we're having conversation with amazing successful
Yeah, I mean,
people.
Mel Summers, another great example. Chandika, Vajra, like all of these guys have gone through tough times and managed to stick it out,
Yeah.
have the grit to stick it out, and then come out the other side stronger for it.
Yeah, definitely. One of our the biggest episode was Chandika Hathuru Singh, one of my good friends, one of my classmates actually from high school, and he played for Sri Lanka, and but he didn't even get selected to school cricket, so he just have to fight to get into play international cricket, and even that it was not just easy going, right? It's tough, a lot of discrimination, and he's got a bigger story, but he was very politically correct because I mean, again, he's a coach, he's a role model, so he wants to be,
Go
you
and
know,
listen to the full episode.
yeah. But please listen to the episode; it's an amazing episode, and we had the most views on this episode. Like it's amazing. And talking about resilience, I think it's very similar to learning mindset, like continuous learning, and this is also one of the key things that we've seen talking to many people.
The next one that I've got is, I don't know how you'd phrase it, showing up, or like having the discipline to show up.
Yeah,
And I think that kind of plays into something we were talking about just before, is like prioritizing action
yeah,
over decision, or like over analyzing.
yeah,
And again, one of my big weaknesses is, I think, coming from an engineer brain, is always like over analyzing, like analyzing. Whereas a lot of the people that we've spoken to, is it's kind of take action.
Yep. Fail fast. I mean, probably that's one of my strengths that I have, Dylan. I mean, this is why we work very well together. So showing up. I mean, this is a great example. This podcast is a great example. Is showing up, right? We could talk about it. We could, do nothing, right? We could, but we showed up, right? We started, and we not just started. We
We're
make
still here.
sure we are every day that we came. We talked every Thursday since we launched, and we had an episode, like so without I mean, you done amazing work. I'm only connecting people, you're doing all the hard work, but showing up is such an important thing. Like when we talk to, if you're not there, right, if you're not there, you're not gonna get this opportunity. One of my favorites episode, like Jan Badner, when we're talking to Jan, again, one of my classmates, only 33-year-old multimillionaire. He's very, very successful businessman, run Shipmonk. So he's the founder of Shipmonk. And it's all about getting there, being there, just to take the opportunities, and having that discipline as well, right? Making sure that you're not just showing up, having that discipline, having the routine to
It's not just showing up once, it's showing up every day.
every day. And then that's one of the key thing Uju mentioned as well. It's a key thing, whether you win or lose, you keep coming, and we heard that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dev Sethi is another great example.
Oh, he's a fighter, he's a street fighter.
He
and
had to. He was taking cold calls left, right, and center, and he didn't know that from the beginning. He just like put the time and effort in. He showed up every day, made the calls he needed to get to where he is today, and I think that's a great example. I mean, we've seen it across other people. My friend Storm, he is training for an Ironman at the moment.
Yeah.
He works full time.
Yeah.
He's in a long time relationship. He somehow manages to show up every day and ends up doing 4 or 5 hours of Ironman training a day, plus doing full time work, plus all these other things. I think just like having that discipline to show up and do it every day means you have that 1% improvement every day.
Yeah, and same your other friend Michael G, right? Never give up attitude. I mean, the guy done a degree in Carnegie Mellon University in AI, and he was offered so many jobs working, Fortune 500 companies, and but he decided to do his own thing, and very young age, like and just sleeping at co-work, and like going to
Doing what you had
US,
to.
left Australia comfort zone. I mean, that's the beauty of the success, right? Success is not an easy thing, right? If it's easy, it would be boring, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just be there, having that hunger, and continue to doing it as well. It's just not because everyone's have ideas. I always say that to you. Ideas are cheap, right? And unless you're actually doing it, and so that's what it's all about, showing up, man. It's such an important ingredient. Yeah.
And maybe another example of that is Ishan, right? He had so much knowledge and expertise in an area, and he could have just kind of
Yeah.
left that.
Yeah.
But he showed up every day, wrote 2 books.
Yeah. More than 2, 3 or 4 now. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go, right?
Yeah, 3 books. Yeah.
And those things don't just like come to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get ChatGPT to do it, but that's not
Yeah.
quality. He showed up and to get it done.
Absolutely.
And the next one
Yeah.
that I've got is, I suppose I didn't really think about it at the time, but a lot of our conversations, when people are defining what success means, it ultimately comes back to impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's one of the core traits, is this like impact or in service of others mentality.
Yeah. Do you think that's also having a purpose?
Yeah, yes, but I think purpose is different, because purpose doesn't have to necessarily be to have impact.
Yeah.
Like my purpose could be a selfish purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is more either when you've made it and giving back,
Yeah.
or trying to do something to have a greater impact than just yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean, we had a conversation with Dr. Tanvir, who runs an impact investing fund.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going beyond just himself and profits.
Yeah.
And instead looking at how can we use capital to have a positive impact on the world, as well as provide good returns.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of the frame that I look at it from, is going beyond just yourself and doing things for others.
Yeah, I think that positive impact is pretty much crossed every successful people, because end of the day, this is why I asked the question: is it aligned to purpose? Because that's very important to people, because they didn't just do it for them, right? They just done it. They want to contribute to others, like whether when I say other, it could be other people, environment, or the whole community. So it's more than them, right? So we seen that throughout the conversation.
Yeah, I think a great example of environment would be Shania and even Lucas Degrassi. Like both of them are now trying to push these big environmental changes. For Shania through her startup, trying to create the re-commerce market, rather than people buying brand new, like getting secondhand things.
Yeah, and same with Lucas Degrassi. Like, I mean, he's a racing car driver. I mean, probably a sport that probably one of the very unenvironment friendly. I don't know, that's the right way to say. But now he is one of the co-founders of E-Formula Racing, and he's just focusing on, rather than
electric vehicle policy, clean air.
clean
He's doing all
air,
of these things.
and how can he contribute? Like so that's definitely creating that positive impact, and an amazing story.
I think another one that comes to mind is Deepak said initially in his, I think when he was talking about success, was he wanted to touch the lives of 1 million people.
Yep.
If that's not
It's
impact,
consulting,
I don't know what is, right? He he's trying to do and share all of this knowledge that he's accrued
Yeah.
with other people.
Yeah.
And I think doing that, for me, it's a win-win benefit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're doing something which lifts someone else up.
Yeah.
But being humans, we're very social creatures, we also get fulfillment from that, from bringing someone else up along the way. And it goes back to, you've got to be grateful for all of the people who've helped you along the journey as well, and give back.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where that mentality comes from.
Yeah. So talking about giving back mentality, I mean, we had a conversation with Chris Lee and Darren Kelly, right? So that's another good conversation that we had. They're all about they achieved success. I mean, together they're business partners, and now it's all about giving back, right? So their mentality is all about giving back, and how can they share what they learn, right? So I mean, I know them quite personally, and very generous people, and so it was great to have them on our podcast and having that conversation. Yeah.
The next one that I've got is communication.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that when I think about success, I would have immediately thought about communication, but it just has come up time and time again. And I think it comes from, in order to provide value and to learn and take opportunities, it's not a solo game, right? You always need to take people along with you. You always need to take people on the journey with you, right?
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need to communicate with them and inspire them to come on the journey.
Yeah.
And we've had some incredible storytellers on the podcast, like Carla is a great example.
Oh yeah.
Her entire career is based around building a story
Yeah.
around a home.
Yeah.
And I mean, Becca Stern, another great example. Her products are, I remember it really clearly. They're like story-led products. Behind each, like all of their lockers have a different name, a different, like, it adds tangible storytelling and value to their products. And I think being able to be a clear and effective communicator not just helps get your idea across, but it also makes you easier to be listened to.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about communicators, I mean, we talk to so many amazing communicators, and some of them, like Teresa, right? Teresa Yaga, right? Like, I mean, Teresa is like, is an amazing leader, right? She runs a very large business, and when you say communication, is how she connect with everybody, right? She's involved in uh, every hiring process, right, to the lower level, right? Even she's the CEO of the business, and she write personal Christmas card to every employee of the business. That's amazing. That's about 1,000 employees or more,
Yeah.
right? I mean, to me, that's not easy thing, right?
Yeah, and I think the point I was trying to get across before, which I didn't do a very good job at, is it's not just about the message
Yeah.
that you're sharing.
Yeah.
It's about how you make people feel.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's a great example of it. It doesn't have to be a verbal communication. It's just in the little things that you do, how you communicate and kind of hold yourself. And also, as part of communication is listening and empathizing with other people as well.
Absolutely.
I would put in the same category. Yeah. And just being able to put yourself in other people's shoes, understand, empathize with what they're going through, really understand what they need and what they want.
Yeah.
So that you can deliver exactly what is required. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the right example, but talking about providing what's needed, Sabrina comes to mind, right?
Oh yeah.
Her company is they're not trying to just build random products.
Yeah.
And create random products. They've really listened to their target market in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
understood what people there want,
Yeah.
and then they're going on and building and
Yeah.
creating these products. Like it's communication is a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's that active listening and also
Yeah.
the communication in front of it. The next one that I've got is positivity or optimism, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what we were saying before, just being able to have that unwavering positivity throughout even the tough times, and seeing setbacks
Yeah.
and challenges
Yeah.
as an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone come to my mind, Flavio, right? Like, I mean, he's a very, very positive guy, and he look at every problem as opportunity, and he made a business out of it, right? And it's a very, very energetic, positive guy. I mean, everything is positive for him. I mean, just having a chat, like, he see the good side, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great conversation that we
Yeah. And
had.
I think maybe more than just positivity, it's also passion.
Yeah.
I think the conversations that we've had that I've enjoyed the most are when the people we're speaking to are super passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And I think when you portray that passion and that positive energy, it makes it so much easier for the person on the other end to understand what you're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
and relate to what you're talking about. And it's like you're putting good energy out,
Yeah.
and that energy is like spread across the people that you're communicating with.
Anything else, Dylan? I got a few things I want to add.
I suppose the other person that comes to mind is probably James Allen.
Oh, for sure. How
I
can we
mean,
miss him? Yeah. I mean, we know him quite personally, and nothing is wrong for everything. Every situation, even his divorce, he see as a positive thing, right? This guy is so much energy, and even uh, doesn't matter what situation,
he's got a smile on his face.
he's got a smile on his face, and you get so much energy out of him. It's just unbelievable, So I mean, James Allen is someone. I mean, you can't d- become James Allen if you are not positive. This guy climbed 7 highest peaks, including the dead, what do you call,
The death face
dead
of
face
Mount
of Mount Everest, and he lost 2 fingers doing that for frostbite, um, and he climbed all the top volcanoes, crossed all the
Crazy
seas.
adventurer.
He's just adventurer and unbelievable, and awesome to know him. And he's one of the guys that we thought, well, we will need to interview in our quest for success, because he's had his own quest in
Yeah.
his own way, and it's amazing. Yeah.
The next one that I've got is, I suppose it comes back to the people piece
Yeah.
in having strong relationships or a strong community and being very much people centric.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think there's like kind of two buckets that the people we've spoken to, they're either very family oriented,
Yeah.
or, we've had some younger people, some very hardcore founders who,
Yeah.
maybe don't have strong links to family, but even though they don't have strong links to family, they still see their team as their family and treat them as such.
Yep, 100%. So I can come a few names to this category. My good friend Luke Harris, for example, so he runs Harris Farm Markets. He's got over 3,000 employees. And I've seen him. I've actually been to Harris Farm with him one occasion. He knew everyone's names, right? I mean, there are multiple 30 plus stores in Australia, but everywhere he went, and he called people in their names, and he that relationship that he built, it's amazing, right? I mean, that's a definitely success, right?
Yeah.
And some other people,
I think on the family
yeah,
front,
yeah,
like there's a lot of people who, even though they're very successful in their career path, on the family front, they put a lot of attention and focus.
yeah,
I mean, Monish is a great example. You know,
Caddy
he
daddy.
literally started the conversation with "I am caddy daddy." Like his main thing that his life revolves around is showing up for his family. You know, caddying for his daughter. I mean, that's a great example. Blake Walker is another one,
100%. Yeah.
right? Very much from a family business,
Yeah.
but still prioritizes, still lives close to all of his family, still catch up
Yeah.
for dinner all the
Yeah.
time. You know, and I think having those kind of strong communities
Yeah.
is, maybe it goes to your point on purpose. It gives you purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, someone else come to my mind is Vishal Vijay, one of my good buddies. And again, his business is built on relationship pretty much. And again, he's running his family business that started, but he's expanding that business with his own creation as well as relationships. So he's explore. He's extended those relationship his dad started. So that's another great success story, Vishal story. And yeah,
Ellard as well. You know,
Ellard's business, thanks for reminding, I mean, pretty much based on relationship,
yeah,
right? So the guy, it's again awesome story. Came with absolutely nothing to us, US, from his trial, and he built his business purely based on relationship.
yeah.
So that's another inspiring story. Yeah.
And the last one that I would put there was, you know, our first episode with someone was with Granddad,
Oh yeah.
and you know, while from the outset, well, the outside, people might not see, you know, he doesn't have a lot of material wealth, but I loved that his definition of success was about building a family who feels connected and, you know, still, you know, loves one another.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
think having that strong family bond it gave him purpose
yeah.
and something to fight for.
Yeah. So one more person talking about family is Adrian Pace, right? Like, remember, he was saying one of the pillars of success is the relationship component, and he's got his family days. He never compromised that. Everything else can stop. And again, it's a awesome guy. We learned so many different things apart from the family relationship, but it's one of the key things for his success.
Yeah, and I think you know, just on relationships in general, I
Yeah.
think especially in the early episodes, we definitely heard time and time again, you're the average of the people you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
and so really making sure that the environment and the relationships that you have around you are positive ones and they're supporting your growth. I mean, I remember Storm saying that explicitly. He tries to get rid of negative people from his life because that's not the life that he wants to have.
Yeah.
And so I think being really particular about the relationships that you
Yeah.
have as
Yeah.
well.
I think that's a really key ingredient. If you really want to be successful, you need to surround it by positive people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily successful. I mean, again, it's a definition, right?
Yeah.
But positive is a success, right? Positive people, you have to associate with. If you have a negative person, try to convert them into positivity, right? Create them positive, give them a positive outlook, start have that conversation with those people. And again, you are your pretty much your environment,
Yeah.
right? So that's a very important thing. Yeah.
And it goes, you know, to the trust triangle as well.
Yeah.
You know, relationships are built on that trust and that empathy and having that strong group of people around you who you can trust makes everything else a lot easier
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know that regardless of what happens,
Yeah.
you've got a community of people who will back you.
Yeah. 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 So the last thing, I don't know, you have any other thing, is vision, right?
Yeah. Vision, and I think it's connected to purpose as well.
Yeah.
Vision and like what I mean by that is having a clear direction and knowing where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because otherwise you can have the greatest ship,
Yeah. Yeah.
but if you have no direction and you don't know where you're sailing, you'll just be bobbing around in the ocean somewhere.
Totally. Well, one when we're talking about vision, someone come to my mind is Dr. Nona Dravid. It's it's all about visualizing, right? I mean, that's a really great episode. And it's amazing story. She went and talked to interview a few billionaires, and so these guys were in a program, a TV show called Undercover Billionaire or something like that in California. And these guys given 60 days to make $1 million business by giving only $100 or something like
Yeah.
that. And then they are under half of that time they creating that $1 million. So she was curious, and again curiosity, and she went and talked to these guys and understand what's the secret ingredient. So we asked the question, what did you find? It's that certainty, right? So really knowing what you want to achieve. So one of the key things that she's doing on a daily basis, not just her with her family, it's about visualizing. So one thing really took me from that discussion, if you really want to achieve something, so if you're thinking of 3 years, this is what I want to achieve, you need to visualize, you actually need to live in it now rather than 3 years. You just, in a way, it's more your what do you call pretending,
Fake it till you
fake
make
it
it.
to make it, right? So you're just pretend that you're there and then thinking backward to get there. It's just amazing technique. I mean, I'm sure we read few books. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of the key things he mentioned in it's about vision and how this guy from a kid from nowhere to become a very successful bodybuilder and the
Actor.
movie actor star, having that vision, right? So vision, talking about many other people that mention vision and purpose, as you mentioned, Sabrina is a great example because they had a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Everything that they did, and Flavio is it's a good example. Again, we were talking about opportunities, and also when you say challenges, you see opportunities, and also you have a vision how to get to where they want to go. Like, I mean, there and there are some examples. I mean, yeah, what we learn.
Yeah. I mean, Dillith is probably a great example of it.
Oh, yeah, the lucky that you we don't want to forget delete. I mean, when you're talking about visionary, someone I know personally is unbelievable. The guy came from country, became one of the top three or top one of the top business people in Sri Lanka. He's got over 53 business and done with absolutely nothing but having a great vision. So if you want to be successful, you need to know where you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, right? So you need to really visualize. You need to be a dreamer, right? I remember when we were kids, our parents complained us dreaming, right? Because get up, do something, read a book and do maths, like,
And I think it's a like that goes to the next thing that I want to touch on. It's like it's a dying art because I think in order to have a strong vision and a strong purpose, you need to be able to introspect a lot, think internally. And now with the attention crisis, the attention economy that we're in,
yeah,
we basically don't prioritize any time. We don't have time where we're not doing something.
yeah,
Like we're always engaged in something, whether it's something as useless as scrolling on social media.
yeah,
But that doesn't give us the time to do that deep introspection, to think about what do I actually want? Where do I want to go?
yeah,
And I think maybe as a kind of takeaway, an action item is give yourself the time and the space to
mm-hmm.
be still
yeah.
and just think, internalize for a moment.
Yeah. I mean, one of the exercise I start doing for probably last year or so, having that me time. I try to have maybe at least half an hour time with me. So that allowed me to have kind of a reset. So, and again, wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning, and normally we go, Dylan and I go to gym now 6 o'clock. In between, whether not necessarily you need to go and wake up and sit down somewhere. ideally you need to be awake, fully awake. You could do that from your bed, or you need to come down somewhere quiet and just reflect on your day, right? Reflect on your things, and think about the today, and in the future, right? Just, there's nothing agenda. It's more like visualizing what's your day like going to be, and also your future. Like, so giving yourself some time is such an important thing, right? Because sometimes we are too busy, we're giving time to everything else but not giving time to you, which is
Detrimental in the long term.
100%, 100%. So, I mean, Dylan, we talked about some of the key things. I'm sure that we probably miss a few of the key traits, and hope that we didn't miss anyone as well. I mean, 50 people seems not too many, but it's just so many.
Even going back through all the notes and trying to
Yeah,
summarize it all.
and mind you, even if you miss someone, that doesn't mean that what the contribution that you made is any difference to all the people that given us their time, and we learned so much from every single episode, and we want to continue to do this, right?
Absolutely. This is just the beginning. We have our sights set on a lot more episodes, and we have no plan on stopping this anytime soon. And I suppose in order for us to continue, it's all about hearing from you guys, who you want to hear from. Also, it would be great if you could complete our success survey that we have on our website.
Yeah, we haven't got much
Responses from it yet. So if you have a moment when you're reflecting, doing some introspection, head over to the website and you can complete the survey there, just so we can understand what success means. Not just to the people we interview, but to the broader
so
community
everyone
as well.
can be part of this journey, right? So everyone can contribute, and there's a couple of questions that we're asking: what success mean to you, and share your thoughts. So it's also part of our learning and the research that we are doing, right? And please. And also we want to make sure that we want to bring more well-known guests into this show as well, because that will help us to continue this research and understanding how everyone else, like in a different backgrounds, different
Across the spectrum.
That's it. So only way that we get that, if you subscribe to our channel. I mean, we are trying to push YouTube as our main channel. So if you can go to YouTube, the Quest for Success podcast, and subscribe to our podcast, that will be a immense help for us, our growth.
Yeah, and we're active on all the socials. So if you have any feedback at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, we'll see you guys in another 50 episodes time. We really hope you guys are getting something out of this, because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing this for, is to share the learnings that we've had so far. And thank you so much for all your support as
100%.
well.
Thank you so much for your support. And if you're new to this, if you haven't had a chance to go and listen to an episode, please go and listen and give us that feedback, as Dylan mentioned.
You can see all of our episodes over on our website, thequestforsuccesspodcast.com. And with that, we'll see you guys in another 50 episodes. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.